So let's start here. Picture this. You're in Greater Noida. It's August 21st, 2025, a bustling suburb right on the edge of India's capital. Life's humming along, cars, markets, the usual sounds.
An ordinary day, seemingly.
Exactly, but then you step inside one home and everything just shatters.
Yeah.
Nikki Body, 28 years old, a mother, someone with dreams, building her own beauty parlor.
Yeah.
Suddenly she's engulfed in flames, and her son, just 7 years old, is watching his mother burn.
It's unimaginable horror.
Absolutely. And this isn't a movie script, this was real. And it happened over dowry demands, something so archaic.
Horrifyingly archaic.
And the really gripping part, the heartbreaking part, is that Nikki's story. It's not some rare, isolated thing, it's an echo. Thousands like it every year.
And that echo, that devastating reality, is exactly what we need to unpack today. We're going to get into how a practice, which maybe started with good intentions, protecting women.
A gift, almost.
Right, a voluntary gift for her security, how it warped into this deadly transaction. And why does it keep happening? Why does dowry persist, turning marriage into a potential death sentence, even now, in modern India, with all its progress?
Despite laws meant to stop it.
Exactly. Despite laws. So we need to pull apart the history, the culture, the systemic failures that let this keep happening.
Okay, let's zoom right in on Nikki's case then, because it's so... Well, it tells the whole story in a way. Her husband, her in-laws, they allegedly doused her in something flammable, set her on fire.
Unbelievable cruelty.
And it wasn't sudden. It was the endpoint of constant demands for more dowry. Her wedding back in 2016 already involved a lot, right?
Yeah.
An SUV, a motorbike, gold, cash.
A significant amount, yes. A Scorpio SUV, a Royal Enfield bike.
But they wanted more. An extra 36 lakh. That's a huge sum.
Huge. And Nikki and her sister, Kanchan, who is actually married to Nikki's husband's brother, so they live together.
Right, in the same household.
They'd apparently faced years of abuse from the in-laws. Years.
They even tried to gain some independence, didn't they? Opened a beauty parlor to support their husbands who weren't working.
They did a real effort to make things work, maybe find some peace, but even that backfired. The husbands apparently stole from the business.
Leading to more fights, I imagine.
Constant fights, yes. And then that day, August 21st, her husband Vipin allegedly attacked her, poured paint thinner on her, and lit the match.
God. And there were videos.
Yes, videos captured her, stumbling down the stairs on fire, her cries, her son witnessing it all. It's just sickening.
And the husband, Vipin, he tried to escape, got shot in the leg.
That's right, and showed absolutely no remorse. His reported comment was, she died on her own.
Chilling. Just chilling.
Yeah.
The whole family, Vipin, his brother Rohit, the parents Satyavir and Daya, they were all arrested.
Both were arrested, yes.
Nikki's story is just devastating. But you said it represents a daily reality.
It does, and that's the truly shocking part. We're talking about an average of 18 women killed every single day in India because of dowry.
18 a day.
18 a day. The National Crime Records Bureau, the NCRB, they logged 6,516 deaths like Nikki's in 2022 alone.
6,500. Let that sink in. How does that compare to other crimes?
It's drastically higher than many high-profile crimes people hear more about, like murder rapes. There were about 250 of those in 2022. Compare that to over 6,500 dowry deaths.
Wow. So this is a massive hidden in plain sight crisis.
Absolutely. And the deaths were just the tip of the iceberg, really. Below the surface, there's the cruelty, the daily abuse. In 2022, there were over 144,000 reported cases of cruelty by husbands or relatives. And that number's up significantly from just a couple of years before.
So the abuse that often leads to these deaths is actually increasing.
The reported cases are, yes, it's just a huge ongoing epidemic of violence.
18 women every day.
Yeah.
It's hard to even process that. These aren't numbers. These are families destroyed, children left behind, like Nikki's son.
Exactly. Scarred for life.
Do we see sort of geographic patterns, or some areas worse than others?
Oh, definitely. There are clear regional hotspots. Uttar Pradesh is consistently the highest, over 2,100 deaths in 2022.
2,000 just in UP.
Yes. Bihar and Madhya Pradesh are also tragically high. But then you look at states like Kerala or Tamil Nadu, and the numbers are much, much lower.
Why the difference, do we think?
Well, it's likely a mix of factors. Higher female literacy rates often correlate with lower numbers. Maybe stronger matrilineal traditions in some parts of the South play a role. It suggests culture and education really matter.
And Nikki's case, while horrific, isn't alone even in recent memory. You hear these stories constantly, don't you?
Sadly, yes. We hear about women like Sandhya Gupta, 23, dead just 3 months after marriage. A woman in Aligarh burned with an iron. Lokeshwari in Chennai taking her own life days after her wedding due to harassment.
Hmm.
Komal, pregnant, dying suspiciously in Delhi.
Each one causes outrage, briefly, then it fades.
Until the next one. It's a
Well,
terrible cycle.
so to really understand why this keeps happening, we need to go back. Right?
Yeah.
How did dowry even start? You mentioned it wasn't always like this.
Not at all. If we go way back, like ancient India, Vedic times, maybe 1500 to 500 BCE, marriage was more about alliances. And gifts given to the bride, called stridhan, things like jewelry, maybe some land, they were voluntary.
Voluntary. And meant for her.
Entirely for her, her security in her new home. It remained her property. It was actually meant to protect her, empower her.
So a protective measure becomes this tyranny. How does that happen? How does it flip so completely?
It's a long, slow corrosion, really. Greed. Societal shifts. By medieval times, things were changing. Feudal systems, stronger patriarchal ideas. The meaning just twisted. It went from being a gift for the bride to a payment to the groom's family, almost mandatory.
And it became about status?
Very much so. The bigger the dowry, the better the groom's family looked, the better the match was perceived. And you even had ancient texts like the Manusmriti around 200 BCE or so that sort of formalized women's dependence on men. That might have inadvertently fueled this idea of dowry as compensation, for taking on the burden of a daughter.
Compensation. Wow. So how did it get so widespread? From upper castes, you said.
Yeah, it seems to have really taken hold among upper castes first, particularly during colonial times. The British Raj, with its focus on property laws favoring sons, didn't help. Then, like many social customs, it spread through emulation. Other groups started adopting it. By the 20th century, it was everywhere: lower castes, even non-Hindu communities.
And post-independence. With modernization.
It got worse in a way. Demands escalated. It wasn't just cash and gold anymore. Now it was cars, apartments, fancy gadgets.
So consumerism meets tradition.
Exactly. Economists even call it dowry inflation, and it's fueled by something called the marriage squeeze.
Marriage squeeze. What's that?
It's when there are more eligible brides than grooms. Often, tragically, because of skewed sex ratios from female feticide or infanticide, fewer grooms means they can demand more.
So the value of a groom goes up, literally.
Literally. In rural areas, it might be tied to land. In cities, it's consumer goods. It becomes like a bidding war. Families trying to outdo each other, sometimes bankrupting themselves just to get their daughter married.
It's a nightmare. So bringing it to today, why does it still have such a grip despite everything? You mentioned a toxic brew.
That's really what it is. Patriarchy has deeply embedded the idea that women are somehow lesser or property. Poverty plays a huge role. Families trapped in debt, desperate for a perceived good match, and impunity, the feeling that you can get away with it.
Because the laws aren't enforced effectively.
Largely, yes. When demands aren't met, the cruelty starts. Beatings, starvation, isolating the woman. If she doesn't deliver, she's seen as expendable.
Expendable.
And the killing is often disguised, a kitchen accident, a suicide.
And society looks the other way, or worse, blames the victim's family.
Societal pressure is immense. That fear of social shame if a daughter comes home is crippling for many families. They feel trapped.
Like Nikki's father said, in our clan, that's how it happens, that normalization is terrifying.
It is. It shows how deep this runs. Economic inequality fuels it, too. Grooms from good families, maybe with good jobs or prospects, can demand a premium. The bride is seen as a liability, not a partner.
And the skewed sex ratio you mentioned just makes grooms scarcer, pushing demands even higher.
Precisely. Add in poverty-trapping families and this modern consumerism driving greed for things like iPhones or fancy cars. It's a perfect storm.
What are the costs beyond the obvious tragedy of lost lives?
The ripples are huge. For women, it's living in fear, constant emotional abuse, physical violence. For families, it's financial ruin, debt traps.
Selling land, borrowing at crazy interest rate.
Exactly. And then there are the children, like Nikki's son, orphan, traumatized. These kids grow up potentially repeating these cycles.
In society as a whole.
Society pays. It keeps women out of the workforce, holds back economic progress. It normalizes gender inequality at a fundamental level. Some studies even link dowry pressure directly to female infanticide families choosing sons to avoid the future burden.
It just feeds itself, a truly vicious cycle.
It really is.
So let's talk about the laws again. You mentioned the Dowry Prohibition Act from 1961 and other sections of the law.
Yes, besides the 1961 Act banning giving or taking dowry, there's Section 498A of the Penal Code. That specifically targets cruelty by husbands or relatives. It's important because it allows arrests without a warrant.
Okay, so arrest without warrant for cruelty.
And then there's Section 304B, which defines dowry death. If a woman dies unnaturally within 7 years of marriage and there was harassment for dowry beforehand, the law presumes the in-laws are guilty until proven innocent. That's quite strong.
It sounds strong on paper. Presumption of guilt.
It does. And the new laws, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita or BNS, they update these sections, but the reality on the ground is different.
Right. You said they often feel toothless. Why? If the laws exist.
Enforcement is the key problem. It's lax. Conviction rates are shockingly low, maybe 20–30%.
Only 20–30%. Why so low?
Several reasons. Families, as we said, are often reluctant to testify. Investigations can drag on forever. Police might be biased or susceptible to pressure.
Like in Nikki's case, there were prior complaints, but nothing stopped the final act.
Exactly. And then there's this whole debate around misuse. Men's rights groups argue false accusations are common.
But feminists say that's a distraction.
They argue, quite convincingly I think, that underreporting is the real massive issue. Far more women suffer in silence than file false cases.
And the backlog in the courts.
It's huge! Over 60,000 pending dowry-related cases in 2022. Justice delayed is often justice denied, especially here.
So the laws are there, but the system struggles to make them work effectively.
That seems to be the reality.
Now, we've focused on India, but is this uniquely an Indian problem, or do we see similar things elsewhere?
It's not entirely unique, though the scale in India is particularly stark. In Pakistan and Bangladesh, you sadly hear of similar bride burnings. In parts of Africa, there's bride price, where the groom's family pays the bride's family. While different, some studies link high bride price to domestic violence, a sense of ownership.
Interesting. So financial transactions around marriage aren't exclusive to dowry.
No. Even in the Middle East, there's mahr, a payment from the groom to the bride, meant for her security. But even that can sometimes be manipulated or used for control.
But India's numbers are still off the charts.
Comparatively, yes. That report mentioning over 7,600 deaths in 2015 alone. It's just a different magnitude. And even in the West, while dowry isn't a thing, you can still see economic abuse within relationships or during divorces. Financial control is a tool of inequality everywhere.
So it's a global spectrum?
Yeah.
But India's situation is acute. Given all this, what can actually be done? Where's the hope for change?
Well, there are people fighting back. NGOs like UN Women are doing vital work on the ground. Education, shelters, legal aid.
Right, supporting victims directly.
And awareness campaigns like Bell Baha, Ring the Bell, encouraging people to intervene if they see abuse, breaking that silence.
Trying to change bystander culture.
Exactly. And government initiatives like Beti Pohao, Save the Daughter, Educate the Daughter, trying to tackle root causes like gender bias.
Have any regions shown particular success?
Kerala has had some success with community vigilance and awareness drives. Technology helps too. Apps for anonymous reporting are emerging.
But progress feels fragile. Numbers can go back up.
They can, which means the efforts need to be sustained and deepened. True success stories are still too rare.
So beyond what's already happening, what are the really fundamental shifts needed?
Education is number one. Really drilling down on gender equality from a young age for boys and girls, teaching girls their rights.
And enforcing the laws we already have.
Much more strictly. Fast-track courts are essential to clear that backlog. Better police training on sensitivity and procedure. Real accountability.
What about empowering women economically?
Absolutely critical. More jobs, more financial independence reduces vulnerability, gives women more choices, more power.
And the culture itself. How do you change something so ingrained?
That's the hardest part. We need to actively celebrate dowry-free weddings, maybe more mass ceremonies like they've tried in places like Rajasthan. Families need support to say no. Society needs to stop shaming those who refuse demands or whose daughters leave abusive situations. It needs to become unacceptable.
It requires courage from families and support from the community.
Precisely. A collective shift in mindset.
As we wrap up, thinking back to Nikki Body consumed by flames. It's a brutal image, but it forces us to remember. Every single one of these deaths is preventable. This isn't tradition. It's tragedy. It's murder.
It is. And her story and the thousands like it, they're a terrible indictment of a collective failure.
A failure we have to confront.
We do. India achieves incredible things. Missions to the moon, leadership in tech. Surely ending this hell on earth for its women is achievable. It must be. We have to demand justice. For Nikki. For every woman silenced by this practice.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this. That fire of change, the demand for dignity, for equality, it has to burn brighter. It has to burn hotter than the flames that take these lives. What part of this stood out most to a Shire? And what's one small thing you, or someone you know, could do to help nurture that fire?